everyone, and welcome to my dock, which is where we're doing the video from today because it's super noisy up top. There's all kinds of construction going on. This video is the response video to the one where I said, look, our immigration attorney, Marcos Kraemer, is having a webinar, and if you can't attend and you have questions to ask about changes to friendly nations, comment and I will attend the webinar, ask the questions, and get the answers for you. And that's what I have today, guys. Answers, and lots of them, straight from the immigration attorney's mouth, and all for free. Seriously, there's some information in here that is really super important, and it's not just available all over the internet. So you definitely want to subscribe. Go ahead and click that button right now, so when we have updates about friendly nations or anything else that's going on in Panama, you get notified. I think there's like a little bell or something you can click, and when you do that, it notifies you somehow. I don't know. I do YouTube, but I'm definitely not a YouTuber. Okay, anyway, figure it out. You don't want to miss anything that we're putting out because we do a lot of really information-rich content. Okay, so here we go. I learned a lot in this webinar, actually. Both things that aren't changing and just have been around for a long time that I had no idea about, that are super important, and really that information needs to be out there, and new things as well. So we're going to go through all of this information. I want to thank Marcos Kraemer from the bottom of my heart for the questions that were not able to be asked in the webinar because it ran like almost 2 hours, guys. I emailed those questions to him and he literally got back to me within like an hour and a half. It was awesome. And I really appreciate his prompt responses. Again, let me reiterate, like I did last time, I don't work for Marcos. I don't have any financial ties to Marcos other than I pay him money and he's my attorney for everything. Real estate, immigration, work permits, opening our corporation. He's about to do our wills and stuff like that. That's it. We're just super happy with his service, and I want to put it out there for you guys so you can be super happy too. Okay, let's get started. All right, first thing is this page here where I took some notes during the webinar about some things that I think are really important. So the first thing is about corporations. There were some questions even on our page about, you know, I have to set up this corporation and there's two types really. There's an IBC and there's an LLC. What's the difference? What do I do? Oh my God. Yeah, I get that. So right now, under the current Friendly Nations visa requirements, which really is the thing that makes it very friendly nations, is that you can come into Panama, open up a corporation that proves your financial solvency or financial ties to the country of Panama, and that gets your foot in the door. And so for $1,400 corporation, your foot's in the door. But that's what's going away under these new requirements. Okay, so if you're trying to get in, we got to go fast. And the corporation is going to take you a couple of weeks to open. So you've got to decide quickly which one is going to work best for you, IBC or LLC. Now, if I'm going to tell you, if you're coming here to actually run a business under your corporation, by all means, please talk to an expat tax specialist and understand what your requirements are and what your personal situation is, because it is not the same for everyone. But if you're just coming to Panama to come to Panama and you just need to open a corporation, I really don't think it matters that much which one you open. I own an online business. For my tax purposes, it made better sense for me to open up the offshore corporation and then have an LLC in the US that is held by that offshore corporation. Don't ask me questions about it. I'm not getting into it. I'm not to that point yet. Before I start talking about all of my business tax structure, I want a full year and file taxes so I have good information to give to you. And I'm not at that point right now. But that's what I did. So let me tell you the little rundown that Marcus gave us. So IBC, more privacy, because you don't have to name the like the partners or whatever, and it has shares. Okay, it's very much akin to a United States C Corp, if you're familiar with that. So basically complete anonymity as far as that corporation goes. The LLC is going to give you less privacy because the partners in that LLC must be named. Check again with your tax people. If you are in the US, the LLC could be better for you tax-wise. Again, everyone's situation is different. I am a lot of things. I am not an attorney, and I am definitely not a tax expert, so don't ask me. But it says that as far as Panama goes, they're both treated the same. So for Panamanian tax purposes, they're both treated the same. That really doesn't matter. It's basically whatever country you're coming from, what implications one or the other might have. And if you really just can't figure it out, and you don't own an online business, and you're not, you know, trying to set up some big business here in Panama, just open the LLC and go about your business. Or just open the IBC and go about your business. Flip a coin, who cares? Okay, you just got to have that corporation. Okay, now, some clarification as to the dates. Original information when this news was just breaking a couple weeks ago was that August 5th was the deadline for the changes. That is not correct. And I actually corrected it the next day in that video in the description, in that breaking news video. The date is August 18th that the new regulations go into effect. And where everything was getting kind of messed up is that there was a date on the decree when it was kind of like first put in front of the president, I guess. Don't quote me on that, but it was kind of like the first date. And then it was not signed until like May 19th or 20th or whatever it was. Well, it was 90 days, and that first date was confusing some people because 90 days from the first date was August 5th. But it's actually 90 days from the date of publication. So that pushes that start date back to August 18th. That's 90 days from the time that that decree was published. So you have until that point. Okay, that said, you do not wait until August 17th to turn in your application. Let's just make that abundantly clear, because it ain't going to happen. My attorney, Kraemer, is not taking any new clients, I got to look at my notes, during August at all for Friendly Nations. So you have to be in the door at Kraemer by July 31st. Period. You have got to say, yes, we are coming to Panama, and here's all of our kind of information by July 31st. If you don't do that, and you come in August 2nd and say, hey, here's all my documents, he's going to turn you away. Okay? Because he wants to make sure that he has time to process everyone and get this stuff done right. The earlier you get in, the better. Keep in mind, if you're doing the corporation route, it's going to take 2 weeks to open that corporation. Okay, so I would start today, contact Kraemer, get that corporation going, and while the corporation is going, start gathering all of the documents you need in your country, and then you'll be ready for your first trip to Panama, and you'll be in well before the beginning of August, okay? Okay, and I'm going to say this right here too. People, and I see it on the board still, that need their FBI documents, their background checks from the U.S. apostilled, are saying, oh, it's going to take 2 months to get my apostille. Yeah, it will, because everything's backed up because of COVID. It's like 2 months. That is not going to work for you. We're at the beginning of June. 2 months from now, if you even got it to them, is the beginning of August. Not going to happen. Do not get your FBI reports apostilled. Okay? Go to my Friendly Nations video part 1. I'll link it below. And there's some information in there about, in the description, you don't even have to watch the whole video, about going the Panamanian consulate route to get it done. And then there's like some sort of intermediaries that you can use as well. Do not do the official Washington, D.C. State Department apostille. You're never going to get it on time. Okay, I'm going now. Okay, all right, let's see. Oh, so in addition to that, you must be in Kraemer's system by July 31st. You need to have your trip to Panama planned no later than August 2nd. Okay, so that's when you need to be here. So if that start date is August 18th, then why are we trying to get in early? There are several reasons. Reason number one, because can you even imagine the influx of applications for friendly nations visas right now? Insanity. The government is on like restricted staff because of COVID. They're not going to have enough people to process all of this stuff as this deadline starts approaching. And there's a very good chance that they're just going to start stamping denied, 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 just to get it out of their faces. Okay? So you need to get it in. Plus, like Marcos said, he could take your application down there on August 17th and hand it to the immigration people. And if an I is not dotted or a T is not crossed and they send it back, guess what? Now you're on August 18th. Brand new rules. Okay? You have to be in the system and have your application accepted before August 18th. Earlier, the better. Okay, next. And this was asked in my comments as well, and he clarified it in the webinar. So let's say you and your wife want to come to Panama and apply for friendly nations, but maybe one of you has a really crappy like background check or something, or whatever the reason is. One of you can't travel right now, whatever that is. If your spouses, okay, not if your boyfriend, girlfriend is not going to work, and also in the country of Panama, gay marriage is not recognized, okay? So that's not going to count for you. Only if you're heterosexual, married with a marriage certificate, can one person come in and apply at this point, okay? So then they're in the system. And then what will happen is at the later date, you can then grandfather in the rest of the family under the current regulations, okay? It will take 3 years for them to get permanent residency, just do understand that. But if you can't both come at the same time right now, that's going to be your best way to get in. Then you're overcoming that like $200,000 real estate investment or having to have a job in Panama. You can get in under the corporation, one of you, and then you can grandfather in the rest of the family. So do that if you're worried about should we both come or can just one of us come, one of you get here now. Okay, pensionado. There are no talks to change the pensionado visa at all. And keep in mind that pensionado, that's kind of what they call the retirement visa. That's if you have like a pension coming in every month, a provable pension. There are no expectations that pensionado is going to change, but don't count on it. If it does change, the thing that will probably change is that monthly minimum pension requirement amount will probably increase. I think right now for one person is like $1,000 a month, so maybe it goes up to $1,500 a month or something. You know, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But all I'm saying is that's if it does change, that's what it will be. But there are no talks to change pensionado right now. This bing, 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 breaking news. It has been my understanding, and when you go on all of the boards, it's their understanding that if you come in under a pensionado visa, you are unable to get a work permit. That apparently is not true. From talking to Marcos, and this is all Marcos, not my own research, okay? So this is all my attorney. He has been getting work permits for people on pensionado visas because the law does not specify that they can't have a work permit. It says that all permanent residents can get a work permit if they follow the regulations, and if you have a pensionado, you have a permanent residency. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And he says he has done it for people, so it's possible. Okay, all right, so again, let me go back to the whole girlfriend, boyfriend, common law, homosexual marriage thing. Common law marriages not recognized in the country of Panama. Same-sex marriages not recognized in the country of Panama, okay? You have to have, if you are applying as a couple, you have to have an apostilled marriage certificate, okay? Let's see, next, ooh, this is a biggie, biggie, biggie. That Marcos, he's got the best information. Okay, immigration, okay, so in the past, the whole thing was when you have to deposit the $5,000 for the bank account, which is a requirement right now under Friendly Nations visa. Okay, that's going away after the changes, but the requirements are worse. $5,000 is the least of your worries if you get in under the changes. But right now you have to have $5,000 in the bank. So what we had been told all along was you put that $5,000 in, as soon, I mean, you sit down, you open your bank account, you deposit your $5,000, and then you immediately then you get the letter from the bank that goes to immigration saying that you do have a valid bank account and it does have the minimum $5,000 deposited in it. And then as soon as you had that letter, which is like, you know, half an hour after you open your bank account, you can withdraw all that money out if you want. Not anymore. Apparently, immigration has caught on to that little trick, and now they are randomly asking for updated bank letters. So, if you're coming in, Marcos says that do not withdraw money that would take your bank account below $4,000. So you can withdraw a little bit of that back out, but don't get crazy and take it all back out. Okay, keep that balance at $4,000 and above. So if you do get an immigration request for a new bank letter, you're all good to go. Again, so that's going to have to be that way for, you know, like between 3 to 6 months. Okay. All right. Next thing. This was a big one. A lot of people were asking this one. And this is not information that you see everywhere. The conversion of visas. So a lot of people were saying, Mary, if I come in under pensionado and then I decide I want to work later, can I convert my visa to Friendly Nations so I can get the work permit? Okay, here's the deal. You can convert your visa to any type of visa that you want, but convert might not be the best word. Because what you have to do is no matter which type of visa you have to renounce that visa. Tear it up, throw it in the trash can. Now you're not a permanent resident. Now you start over with the whole process for the new visa that you want. So you have to meet all of those requirements, go through that entire process just like a brand new person coming into the country. Your prior visa status has nothing to do with it, and you cannot hold that first visa you got while you're applying for the second one. Okay? So no, it's not, while you can do it, it's not recommended. What a mess. Money mess, blah, blah, blah. And again, because Kraemer has been able to get work permits for pensionado visa holders, there's no reason to transfer to Friendly Nations. Okay. Okay, so under the changes that are coming up, there are only 2 ways to prove your ties to Panama. You have a job through a Panamanian company, or you have $2,000 worth of real estate here in Panama. So there were some questions about how is that $200,000 calculated? Do I have to go out and buy a $200,000 property? What if I already own property in Panama? And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But here's what I need to tell you that's super important. Lordy, especially if it's in Bocas. That $200,000 piece of real estate must be titled. There are 2 types of properties here in Panama. There's rights of possession called ROP, and there's titled. Much of Bocas is ROP. In fact, I would say 90% of it is ROP. You go out here behind me on one of these islands and buy a piece of ROP property for $250,000, you are not going to be able to use that to get your Friendly Nations visa, unfortunately. It must be titled. Okay? I mean, you could go through the whole process of titling it, but that's going to take some time and some money. So, just a heads up on that. Okay, so that's all the notes that I took. Now we're going to get into questions that you guys asked. Okay, question number 1, let's see, came from JC and Dawn Smith. And they wanted to know, this is very timely, about real estate applications. So, can the visa application only be made once the property has been purchased, Or will the application process allow for X number of days to make the purchase after the visa has been approved? How does the timing of the purchase relate to the timing of the application? Okay, guys, that $200,000 real estate holding is a requirement for the visa. It's a requirement before you can apply. Just like right now, one of the requirements is $5,000 in a bank account. I can't go and say, hey, I want to see if you're going to approve my visa, and then I'm going to go put $5,000 in the bank account. It doesn't work that way. You have to have all those ducks in a row and then submit the application to show you have all your ducks in a row now. Not 60 days from now or 6 months from now, but that you have all of those requirements in place now, and then they will process your application. There's no, hey, I'm in the process of buying, hey, I haven't closed yet, blah, blah, blah. You cannot even apply until you have that $200,000 worth of titled real estate in your happy little name. Okay. And again, that's only for the new changes. That's only if you're not coming in under the current ones. Remember, under the current rules, you can just open that corporation. That's what we did. I mean, we were in the process of buying our property, and there is a property, a way to get in right now that we would have qualified for, but we couldn't. We had to open a corporation because we weren't closed on our property yet. So even though we were in the process, we'd already put down a deposit, we had a contract, blah, blah, blah. So we didn't close on this property until the end of December, but we did our application in mid-November. Okay, let's see, and if I slaughter your name, sorry. Okay, Leisha Cummings-Odell asks, can my mom be included in the corporation with my husband and myself, or do I have to do two separate corporations? Her income is $915 per month for her pension, just shy of qualifying for pensionado. Okay, so here's the deal. Only 2 main applicants can share a same corporation for the Friendly Nations visa application. So this is how you could do it, though. This is how it gets a little interesting, and this is why you want an attorney to help you. So, for example, Brian and I applied separately, and if you've watched that video, you know why. So we didn't apply as husband and wife. We opened the corporation, and we each had to hold 50% of that corporation, because that is the bare minimum. You can't own 10% of a Panamanian corporation and it count as you having a Panamanian corporation. You have to have at least 50%. So here's what Marco says if you, your husband, and your mom are trying to come in under one corporation. Yes, it can be done, and here's how it works. Okay, what you can do is you apply as a dependent, you, the wife, applies as a dependent spouse under your husband's visa, okay? So then your husband's 50% counts for both of you. Then your mother can be put on the other half. See how that works? That's really smart, okay? That's really great information. So what you'll do, again, yes, all 3 of you can be on the same corporation, so then you only have to pay the $1,400. Husband is going to apply for Friendly Nations visa status. He's going to own 50% of that corporation, and as the wife, you will apply as a dependent of him. Then the mother will own the other 50% of the corporation, and then she can do her application. Okay, Doug B. asks, a big long question. My wife and I are considering spending several months a year in Panama. The Friendly Nations visa under the current system sounds attractive, as we may want to operate a business there. What are the pros, cons, options relative to just one of us hurrying to establish permanent residency in the next couple of months versus both of us going through the process at the same time? Could I apply as an individual more easily and economically, and then my wife become a permanent resident later by virtue of being my spouse, thereby avoiding the need to buy $200,000 in real estate and obtaining the other benefits of the old system? We aren't 100% certain that Panama is for us, though it seems very attractive. So we're trying to get our foot in the door under the current system for the lowest commitment in time and money. Yes, and we talked a little bit about this in the beginning. You, right now, Doug B., get to Panama and get that application in, okay? So then what's going to happen is that if you guys decide to go ahead and become permanent residents, both of you, at a later date, your spouse can then apply as a dependent under you. But remember, again, it's going to take your spouse that's coming in grandfathered under 3 years to get permanent residency, which really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, she'll have temporary in the meantime, and there's not that big of a difference between the two. Okay? Let's see. Okay, but again, you need to do that before August 17th. That has to be in, but if you're using Kraemer or any other attorney, you really need to be in Panama by the end of June. The end of July at the latest. Okay, next question from Doug B. What is the minimum required cost, time, etc. to get a foot in the door and stop the clock on getting a Friendly Nations visa under the current program? Not necessarily to complete the process, but as a placeholder while we decide. We haven't visited Panama yet, but we've spent a lot of time in Latin America, and we wanted to visit it at least once before we start the visa process, but now we're wondering if we should just start it right away. Okay, so the minimum cost would be a deposit of, this is if you're using Kraemer, okay? I can't give you quotes for every attorney in the world because I don't care about the rest of them. Okay, the minimum cost would be a deposit of $1,550 for a husband-wife application, and you will need to spend 10 business days in Panama to apply and receive your temporary residency. It then takes about 3 to 6 months after that for the permanent residency to be processed. At that point, you would need to pay the remainder of the visa cost, $3,350, and return to Panama for processing. We are approaching retirement age, so in a few years we could qualify for the pensionado, but we might want to start a business. So basically, would we be able to do a business under pensionado? Again, I'll repeat, the pensionado visa holders are able to apply for work permits. Kraemer has obtained work permits for several pensionado visa holders. The key is that you're a permanent resident. Okay, that's all you need. All right, next. Other than operating a business, are there other advantages to Friendly Nations compared with pensionado for those who would qualify for both? Marcos says, we recommend the retiree visa for anyone who is eligible for it. In the past, we would recommend Friendly Nations in the event that applicants are in need of work permits, but now this is not the case anymore due that under Executive Decree 21 of 2019, any permanent resident can obtain a work permit. Okay? Number 4. Under the new requirements for Friendly Nations visa, how is the $200,000 real estate amount determined? Ooh, this is so good. For example, if we bought land for $100,000 and then built one or more structures on it, would an appraised total value after the improvements count? Would we have to show that we paid $100,000 in materials and construction costs? Is there a time frame? Say we bought the land, took a couple of years to make the improvements, so the total value after 2 to 3 years exceeded $200,000. Would that work? I guess the question is, does the investment have to be $200,000 up front, or could it grow to $200,000 in value after time? Okay, I will repeat, because this is a kind of a repeat question. You have to have $200,000 worth of real estate in your name at the time of application. That said, I went back and I asked Marcos, I said, okay, that I understand, but what if you already own real estate in Panama? There are people here that own real estate in Panama and do not have residency. Some of my neighbors. So let's say you own it, you bought some land, it wasn't worth $200,000, and then you built a house on it, and now you want to apply for Friendly Nations. How will the value be determined? So basically, wait. Aha, that's on my next page. Okay, so basically here's what Marcus says. It requires a certificate from the public registry for the property with a minimum registered value of $200,000. Please note, properties have land value plus improvements value. So this can be done by making an improvements declaration on the registry to sum up the total value required. Okay, so basically you have land in the system, you will go back and you will value the improvements that amount. Look, you're not going to have your friend drive over and appraise it and sign something and hand that to government. It's not going to work. In the government registry, it's going to have to show that your land and your improvements are worth $200,000. Okay. All right, next up, Catherine Herbst asks, is it August 18th for sure and not the 5th? And if so, is it it is probably too late to physically be in Panama from the 9th of August, or is that still okay? Would 1 week earlier work out? Can't arrange any time off in July. Yeah, sorry, Catherine Herbst, you're kind of screwed. You need to be in Panama with all of your documents to apply for the visa no later than August 2nd, and you need to be, if you're doing it through Kraemer, you need to be in his system by July 31st, okay? And August 2nd works as long as you already have your corporation done and your bank account is coordinated to have that open. Battery croaked on me, but we're back up and running. Okay, so next up, William Fulmer asks, I am in the process of applying for bankruptcy in the form of a consumer proposal. Does that affect a visa application? Nope. All right, question number 2. If I can apply for a visa, does the pensionado visa allow me to do business online? Absolutely. And if you're doing business online and you're not having transactions within the country of Panama. So like, for instance, my school is based in the United States. It's not based in Panama. I don't have any Panamanian customers. So I don't even need a work permit to do that, okay? All right, question number 3. In the event that a product or service is sold, oh, here we go, to a Panamanian, does that affect the visa, or will just the taxes have to be paid on the transactions? If you are, okay, here's the answer. If you are selling products or services within Panama, you will need a work permit and to pay Panamanian taxes and value-added tax. Panama ITBMS for business with sales above $36,000 US dollars a year. Okay. Question 4, with the new law, if I want to buy a business, say a small hotel, and it is $200,000 or more, what is the process in changing the pensionado visa to friendly nations? Again, you don't want to and you don't need to change your type of visa, because otherwise you'd have to renounce your pensionado visa and start all over again with friendly nations. You don't want to do that. Okay, so, and again, you can have a work permit under pensionado. Not only can you, but it has been done. This isn't some speculation. Marcos Kraemer has gotten work permits for permanent residents who are here under the pensionado visa. Okay, Jessica Amoroso asks, I am an Italian citizen. I have heard that we have another special agreement with Panama. Do we also count to the changes like friendly visa, or do we have more time than the 5th of August for applying? What is the difference between the Italian visa and the friendly nations visa? Okay, so I'm really not here to answer Panamanian or questions about other visas, but Friendly Nations visa and the Panama Italy special visa have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They are 2 completely different visas. The Panama Italy visa has not changed, is not changing, only Friendly Nations. And if you go on Kraemer's website and you click up there with their services and you click on immigration and there's a big drop down menu, there's actually a link for the Panama Italy visa. Okay, so you can click on that and get all the information that you need. Okay, Sharon Johnson, our last question, asks, if I obtain a pensionado visa and at a later time decide to start a business in Panama, can I change the type of visa? If so, what type would I need to? Okay, so this is just a repeat question, right? And you should all be able to say it along with me at this point. You do not want to change your visa type. There is no reason to, because even under pensionado, yes, you can get a work permit, so there would be no reason to change to Friendly Nations if you decided you wanted to work. If you did want to change visa types, you would have to completely renounce your original one, end it, it's gone. Now you're not a permanent resident at all, and you start again from scratch. Nobody wants to do that. Too much money, too much junk. Okay, and that concludes our update video with all of these questions. All right, I think that this is some great information. It's information that you just don't find everywhere else. And again, I want to say that I really appreciate Marcos Kraemer for answering these questions for you guys. I already have my permanent residency, so whatevs. But I'm really trying to help you guys out, because I understand that if you were planning on moving to Panama, that these changes are really stressful. So hopefully this takes some of the stress out of it. Look, bottom line is this. If you want to get your foot in the door, get moving. If you're going to use a corporation, you contact Kraemer today and get that corporation in the works. It takes 2 weeks. And while that's happening, you start gathering your documents. And if you're in the United States and you have to get that FBI report apostilled, do not get it apostilled. Go to, I'll link below the first Friendly Nations video, and there's information in the video description. Again, you don't have to watch the video, that will tell you what you need to do rather than spend 2 months getting that FBI report apostilled. You'll never make it, okay? Get it going now. Get everything over to Kraemer at the very latest by July 31st. And then get your happy little expat wannabe rear end over here to Panama no later than August 2nd, so they can get you in the door, get that process rolling. Remember, you'll need to be here for 10 business days. Then you're free to leave, okay? And you only have to come back about 3 to 6 months later. I'm guessing with all these applications, you're probably going to be looking at more like about 6 months after to get your permanent residency card. And then you're in, like Flynn. Okay, that's the end of this video. I want to thank you all for sitting through it because I know it was a lot of information. Thank God it's ending because it's getting hot out here. The sun's coming out. And make sure you subscribe. We always have good information, good content. We don't give you a lot of fluff and junk and leave you wandering with vague stuff and tell you only the things that you want to hear. We give you the whole deal here. So until next Friday, have a great week.